Hello my friends, another week has passed by and we find ourselves on a bank holiday Monday here in the UK. It's very early April and yet it's absolutely freezing. That wind, I know the sun's shining and it's warm, but the wind is cutting. I think it's a Siberian wind, it's so cold. But luckily I've got plenty of clothing on, because around here it's very flat. The landscape is so flat that the wind just kind of whistles across here, and if you're not properly dressed it can quickly cut you to ribbons. Hence I've got my hat on, because if you get your ears cold, there's nothing worse than cold ears. Don't you agree? I can't stand cold ears. So I've got my hood as well, my hoodie, and the hood of my jacket, so just in case I do get cold ears, even with my hat, I've got some backup. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I haven't come too heavy packed with camera equipment, just got my Olympus Pen F, just for some grab shots. I'm not really shooting anything specific. There's not a great deal to get your teeth into out here, but it's not really my photographic genre. Countryside, landscapes. I do enjoy taking the odd picture, but you know, when you see some of the work of the real landscape photographers, then it certainly, you know, goes to show that you need to be prepared, have the right equipment, and have a good idea of the landscape you're photographing. You know, you could take someone like Ansel Adams. When you look at his work in the 1930s, 1920s. Oh, just lost the sun for a second, but it's back out again. There's a big cloud up there. But yeah, Ansel, he knew his landscape, but he used to travel around in an old truck, and because in them days they was using these large format cameras, he used to rig his camera up on top of the deck of the lorry or the van he was using, and shoot from there. So that gave him a better vantage point. You know, he was higher up, so using a wide angle lens he could include a bit of a better foreground. He could also travel around, and he spent a lot of time sleeping in the wagon, like for days on end, just to make sure he got the right sunset or dawn or dusk rise. And of course he photographed the moon several times. So if you check out his work, Ansel Adams, it's, especially if you're into landscape photography, it's pretty inspiring. But it's way above my kind of head. But it's kind of way above the landscapes or countryside photos that I take, purely because I haven't got that dedication, that passion. I'm more interested in, as I've said before, the urban environment. Street photography is my cup of tea. I tend to come out with an open mind, so I'm not really looking for anything per se on this kind of photographic hike. It's more about the exercise for me. But I bring my camera, and that way you're always prepared, you know. Even though I don't get super excited about the photography, I do come across some odd photos that are quite interesting, and I'm not ultra keen on the landscape, but I am interested in things like discarded materials in the dyke here, for example. So there's definitely a human element to my photograph mixed in with the landscape, and it's sort of more leaning towards the darker side of photography, the darker side of the human condition. You know, the way we treat the landscape is not always that clever. I'm not really looking for the beauty of the landscape, like colours and super duper light. It's more about the human connection to the landscape in a sort of negative way, in the way they treat their own environment. So even here on these back roads, you get a kind of understanding of how the people respond to their landscape, and sometimes it's not that great, and you sort of scratch your head with bewilderment, the fact that they can be so negative and discard their personal items or food packages from their car into these country lanes. It's stupidity beyond belief. Yeah, as well as Ansel Adams, who's, you know, an interesting photographer. Later on, much later in the century, a female photographer, Faye Godwin, some of her work's really excellent. It's really good to look at. She's sort of come around mainly in the 70s and 80s that she was prominent, and she was quite sought after, her landscape photography. Yeah, she was linked to traditions of the kind of romantic British landscape in that sort of period, but she was also quite a strong activist. And you know, a lot of what I was saying earlier about the relationship between the human being and the landscape, how we treat it, she herself was quite leaning towards the darker side of the landscape, you know, how we mistreat the land itself. And if you check her work out, you'll notice that there's a lot of this in her photography. Anyway guys, I'll leave you with some of the photographs I've taken today, and I hope you enjoy them. I haven't gone mad today, it's just bitterly cold, but if you like the photos, please give me a bit of feedback. Maybe like the video, and it'd be great if you could subscribe to the channel, because I'm trying to get my numbers up. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.